Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be talking about my favorite books of the year so far. I didn't do the mid-year book freakout tag this year because I think beginning of July, I hadn't read that many books that I felt like doing that video, but since then I have read a few books that I really love, and I do have 8 books to talk about. These are just the best books that I have read so far this year before August. So from January to end of July. As of today, when I'm filming this, I have read 45 books so far in 2023, which is fine. And by the way, 45 books for the year so far is not a bad number. It's just I have done better, and that's really hard to accept that I am no longer at that level anymore. So that is why I'm disappointed in myself. But I mean, to be honest, I'm not that disappointed, because if I was more disappointed, I would try harder to read more, and I don't. I'm just going to kind of go in order of when I read each book. I'm not going to numberize them on what is my favorite one. That you're going to have to wait until the end of the year to know which one is my favorite one. I mean, you're going to know from this video what one is my favorite, but the rest are in no particular order. So the first one is By Fate I Conquer by Cora Riley. This is the 4th book in the Sins of the Fathers series. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I did not expect to like this, considering the 3rd book I gave 1 star, and then I gave the 2nd and 1st book 2 or 3 stars. I really didn't like this series, and I kind of expected to also not like this book, but I ended up really enjoying it. If you didn't know, this is a spin-off of the Born in Blood and the Kimura Chronicles series. Amo is Luca and Arya's kid, and Greta is Remo and Serafina's daughter. They're rival mafia families, and Greta is very much the princess. She is protected from a lot of the crime that happens in their family, and Amo is it Amo? Amo? He is basically set to take over the family business, and they're just total opposites, and they end up running into each other one time when Amo and his family are over at the Falcones to discuss business and possible alliances, and they run into each other, and Amo is smitten. He is immediately intrigued by Greta, and they kind of have this very forbidden, secret relationship, and I just really loved it. It had a lot of qualities of Cora's older books, which I really loved. It had kind of the same vibes as Twisted Emotions and Twisted Pride. It just felt like Cora's older stuff, and I really loved it. I loved Amo and Greta and their relationship, and I'm also a huge sucker for a male character who is kind of this villain almost, but he is completely soft for our female character, and that was Amo. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book, and I'm very excited for the next book, because I feel like I will also really love that one. Then we have Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. This is the 1st book in the Hoops series. This I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. This follows Iris, who is dating this basketball player, and she is in somewhat of a happy relationship. And one night she meets August, and they have this instant connection, but they kind of go their separate ways, and years later they bump into each other. But obviously Iris is currently dating her boyfriend. August is, I guess, her boyfriend's rival. And then suddenly Iris is dealing with some very serious stuff. Her world kind of flips upside down, and she is suddenly dealing with so many heavy and hardships, and August is still just on the sidelines waiting for her and trying to fight for her. This book definitely made me cry. It was very emotional. It does deal with domestic abuse and sexual abuse and stuff, so it is very, very heavy. I do feel like Kennedy Ryan did a fantastic job with the subject matter and just handling everything, and it was such a beautiful, heartbreaking book. I love how August did not give up on Iris. He truly was there for her as much as he could be. He would not give up. Like, he knew they were meant to be together, and I absolutely loved that. Iris was so strong. She deserved so many good things. She deserved August. It was very emotional, very heavy, but so well done, and I just really loved it. Then we have Capturing the Devil by Kerri Maniscalco. This is the fourth and final book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I finally finished the series this year, which I am so happy I did, because I think I read Stalking Jack the Ripper like back in 2019 or something like that. So it has been years since I've been needing to finish the series, and I'm so glad I did. I absolutely loved this 4th book. I thought it was the perfect conclusion to the series, and this was actually, oh no, this was my second fully annotated book. The first book I fully annotated with like sticky tabs and writing and underlining things was Escaping from Houdini, which is the 3rd book, but this was the 2nd book that I did that, and I am so happy that I finally started annotating and stuff. But essentially the first book, Stalking Jack the Ripper, follows Audrey Rose, who is interested in forensic science, and at the time she is the only girl in her uncle's science laboratory class, where she meets Thomas, and they essentially become her uncle's like little assistants, and they try to uncover these mysteries, and it's basically based on like Stalking Jack the Ripper. So they are trying to find this killer who is killing all of these women and tearing up their bodies and stuff, and they do a lot of like body discovery, so like finding out what happened to the victims through their injuries and stuff. I forget what the actual word is, but Audrey Rose and Thomas are just trying to solve all of these mysteries. And like the 2nd book, Hunting Prince Dracula, is about Dracula, and then the 3rd book is Escaping from Houdini, which is all about Houdini and this like magic circus type thing. And then obviously we have Capturing the Devil, which is kind of a tie-up between all of the stories and finding out this other killer. I don't really want to spoil too much, but it was a fantastic conclusion to the series, and I just really love Audrey Rose and Thomas, and anytime Thomas would confess his love for Audrey Rose, it was so beautiful, and I really enjoyed this book and the series. Then we have The Demon of the Wood by Willow Quinn. This is the 1st book in the Fates and Fables series. This I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. This is a very cute, cozy little romance fantasy paranormal. This follows Melina, who is forced to take care of her cruel uncle and cousins, and she is struggling to kind of just live her life and find love and do all of those things. And one day Melina is having this little fling with this guy by the woods, but something happens where she kind of gets lost in the woods, and then this mysterious guy named Cayman saves her, and he really wants to protect her. They have like this instant connection. It is kind of giving Beauty and the Beast retelling a little bit, but also with a little bit of Cinderella, kind of. It's very insta-lovey. It's very cute and like innocent, kind of. It's just a very simple, cute read, but I absolutely loved the characters and the romance, and the cover is just to die for. I'm obsessed with this cover. If you just want like a simple, easy little fantasy romance, I highly recommend it. Then we have Grace and Glory by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is the 3rd and final book in the Harbinger trilogy. This I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked this conclusion. This was also another series that I finally finished this year. I thought it was a fantastic end to the series. It was kind of also open-ended, that maybe JLA might return to this world at some point. I do see that being a possibility. This is also a spin-off of the Dark Elements series. So this is about Zane and his story, and our female character is Trinity, and she essentially is this very unique girl. She can basically communicate with ghosts and see spirits, and she is kind of this anomaly in her world, and she is basically guarded by these wardens who are shape-shifting gargoyles. However, she might be the key to uncovering this like mystery in their world and saving the world, essentially. She's, you know, the chosen one. I love seeing Roth and Layla in here and all of the other characters from the Dark Element series. My camera died, but as I was saying, I also really loved a new character that we were introduced to, and there was kind of this plot twist at the end that I didn't see coming. And I'm just a sucker for books that deal with demons, angels, heaven and hell, and all that stuff. So this was just a really fun book to read, and I kind of teared up towards the end. I really liked it. Then we have The 7-Year Split by Ashley Poston. This I gave 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know if you can tell with my tabs how much I loved this book. This follows Clementine, who is a book publicist, and she is very focused on work, but she has recently lost her aunt, and her aunt left her magical apartment in her will to Clementine. So Clementine decides to finally move in to her aunt's apartment, and when she moves in, she realizes just how magical it is. And our male character, Iwin, just so happens to also live in the apartment as well. And it turns out that he lives in the past, 7 years in the past. So Clementine lives 7 years in the future. I loved this book. It was so magical, so beautiful. I loved the romance. I loved both Clementine and Iwin. I read the first paragraph and I started crying. I feel like Ashley Poston has this talent to just get a rise out of every emotion from me. Like, I can be crying and laughing at the same time. And I basically just cried this entire book because it just tackles death, life, fate, love, all of the things that make up this beautiful world, I guess. It was sweet, but also heartbreaking and a little heavy. I love the way that Ashley Poston writes grief and death and life and just all of it. I just love this book so much. Also, Iwin is a chef, which is really fun. I loved that aspect. Clementine also does art. She's a painter. It was just a beautiful book, and I highly, highly recommend it. I also obviously recommend The Dead Romantics. That was my favorite book of last year and one of my favorite books of all time, but this one is like a close second. I really, really loved it. And the last two were kind of really unexpected favorites, but I have Done and Dusted by Layla Sage. This is the first book in the Rebel Blue Ranch series. I love this cover. It is just so gorgeous. I absolutely love it. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. It follows Emmy, who is making a name for herself riding horses, and she gets an injury that she's having trouble overcoming, so she decides to run back home, spend some time with her family, and hopefully she'll be able to get back on a horse. But when she gets back home, she runs into Luke, who is her brother's best friend, and he's also this notorious bad boy. He kind of has a bad reputation. He now owns this bar, and he's also helping out her family and like doing these, I think, riding lessons or something like that. They have a little bit of a hate love situation going on. It's more just like sexual chemistry. I would say it's definitely boy falls first. He is immediately into Emmy when he sees her. I loved it. It was cute. It was sweet. It was easy. It was just a really like feel good, easy romance. And I really loved that. And I think it was the perfect read after I read The 7-Year Slip, because that was a very emotional roller coaster. And this was like the perfect little palate cleanser. And I don't know, it kind of also reminded me a little bit of my childhood and just growing up on the farm and stuff. So I really enjoyed it. Also, it was the first time that I used like colored pens and I started using highlighters and stuff. So that was also a really fun experience. I didn't annotate the whole thing. I was just kind of testing it out. But I definitely do want to reread it and annotate even more because it was really fun and I'm excited for the second book. And then my last favorite book of the year so far is Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. This is the second book in the When in Rome series. This I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. This follows Annie, who is described as this goody two-shoes. She is known as like the town's angel. She is this very innocent, naive young woman, and she runs a local flower shop. And our male character, Will, is her sister-in-law's bodyguard. Annie and Will have this kind of instant, easy connection. Like, they can just have an easy conversation. And I would definitely also say that this is Boy Falls First. Will definitely notices that he is falling for Annie and knows that he's not good for her because they're total opposites. Will is known as this bad boy. He's very mysterious. He kind of has a little bit of a player reputation. And because Annie is having trouble like going on dates and dating, Annie's sister-in-law suggests that Will should be her like dating coach so he can help her go on dates and know how to date people. And it's just so cute, so heartwarming. I definitely related to Annie a lot, and I really like how Annie stood up for herself towards the end, and she was a lot more like outspoken. I feel like Will definitely brought that out in her to like be able to say how she truly feels about things. And I will say Will also had some great development. He finally got over some of his like childhood trauma, and I don't know, they were just so cute together, and I really liked how opposite they were. It was just a very sweet, heartfelt romance, and I really, really loved it. So those are all my favorite books that I've read so far this year. Let me know if you have read any of the books that I talked about and what you think about them, or let me know what are your favorite books of the year so far. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!